Oh, hey, what's up, guys? It's the Epic Tiki podcast. It's back.
Tiki.
Yeah, I'm Luke Soin, and this is my friend Vin Chandra.
Chandra.
Chandra. Okay, hold it close to your face.
Chandra.
You gotta keep it there the whole time.
Okay, so I'm not used to it. I'm not a comedian.
Pretend like it's. I'm not gonna say wiener jokes this soon, but no, yeah. So I've been wanting to do this podcast for like a year and a half again, and I've just been lazy. But you know what? It's about to be a new year, and I'm going to do a podcast again because I need to do it, you know?
Exactly. And this is the last podcast of 2024.
Way closer. Like, rest it on your chin.
I'm like kissing this thing.
I'm just saying it's...
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
That's perfect.
Good.
If you can do that.
Can you hear me now? Wow.
Because you speak softer than me.
I do.
And you're not a trained comedian, you know?
No.
And by trained, I mean you've just done hours and hours of it, and to the point where...
Well, I can be louder.
Oh, there you go.
But I don't know if I want to be loud, but...
No, just, you know, I just don't want it to be like, and anyways, I thought it was...
Sure. Well, I mean, if y'all can hear me, I'll be happy. Cool.
I'll be happy, yes, as the editor of this podcast.
Yes.
So, so Vin and I were friends. We met doing...
Are we friends, though?
Well, I thought we were.
All right. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Just sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you know, when we go and watch horny vampire movies in the morning on Sundays sometimes.
Yes.
So, but yeah, so I met Vin doing work, like video work, and we hang out, and he's going to be the cinematographer for my movie we're making. We're making a movie, and, you know, this episode isn't about the movie, which is called Canceled. Go follow the Instagram @CanceledFilm. I don't know. Yeah, I just want to do a podcast again. This is going to be whatever I want it to be. So this episode is a review of the 2024 film by Robert Eggers, Nosferatu.
Luke and I were both excited to watch this.
Yeah. We just came back from the theater. We just saw it.
Fresh in our heads.
Yes.
And let's provide some context. I have not seen the original Nosferatu. I need to go watch it.
I haven't either.
And I saw Dracula, the Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola one, maybe like 15, 20 years ago, so it's not really fresh in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, this is, to me, watching this is like, I don't have much context from other work, so this is me watching it for the first time, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you,
or at least without any sort of like taint from the previous movies.
Yeah. What is your favorite Dracula movie or TV show?
Ooh, you know, it's so funny you say that. I just watched Dracula Untold the other day.
I still haven't seen that.
Luke Evans. And, I mean, it was a handsome dude, you know. He was supposed to play the Crow, but, you know, they gave it to Bill Skarsgård, which is Nosferatu now.
Who's Nosferatu?
Yeah, you know, so... But, I mean, you know, like, Dracula... I mean, my favorite Dracula film, it's kind of a hard one, because... I was just telling you before the Nosferatu started, like, I really have this soft spot for this, you know, the cartoon show called The Batman that they had, like, I think it's the early 2000s. They had Batman versus Dracula, and I was like, oh, this one's kind of creepy.
Was it like it's like a one-off short movie?
Yeah, it's a one-off short movie.
Okay. Yeah, I never got into the Batman with, I forget who the voice of that was.
Yeah, some randos.
Yeah, because there was like Batman Brave and the Bold, and that was Dietrich von Bader, whatever the guy from Drew Carey show.
Or Rex Kwando.
Right. Yeah. Or Office Space, like two chicks at the same time, like that guy. He was Batman in like a more kid-oriented Batman show.
There was Lego Batman with Will Arnett.
Yeah, which is surprisingly good. Mm-hmm. But but now we're getting into Batman, which is different than Bat Creep and Dracula.
Right.
I actually recently watched Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola movie. I watched that like 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay, so it's pretty fresh in your head.
It's pretty fresh. And so then I've also seen, I have not seen Nosferatu. I haven't seen Bela Lugosi, or if I did, it was a long time ago and I don't remember.
Do you consider Blackula to be a good vampire movie? Because I thought that was great.
Of course, yeah. I haven't seen that. I've seen Venture Brothers, which has Blackulas in it.
Okay. Huh.
And they have a Blackula Slayer.
Vampire in Brooklyn was also a cool one.
Oh.
That was with Eddie Murphy as a vampire.
Yeah, I've seen like a clip from that. But then I also, I actually have seen the Hammer horror Dracula with Governor Tarkin from Star Wars as Van Helsing. And then, it was Christopher Lee as the Dracula.
Yeah, okay.
So I've seen that one, but that was like a few years ago. I don't remember that exactly.
So you're watching some oldies.
Yeah, I got into... I think when I moved into this house, I had like a weird, like I listened to, there was a podcast that Edgar Wright and Quentin Tarantino were on together, and they were talking about like some list of like great old British movies. I forget why, but so there was like this cool list of movies, and I started getting into that for a minute, and there was like a Sapphire Blu-ray series of, it was like a collection of old British movies, and I was gonna buy it, and I just never did, but I watched some other stuff instead. And I was also like, well, I've heard about these Hammer horror films, and they're supposed to be great. So I watched that one and The Hound of the Baskervilles or something. And they're cool. Like, they're fun, weird little 70s horror movies that kind of have their own little weird charm of, like, sets and certain kind of effects. You know, like, there's like, that era of effects. And they did a good job of just, like, I don't know. I thought it was cool.
You know, it's funny, like, because growing up, as a kid, like, I loved vampire stories. It was weird. Like,
yeah.
My favorite
I always
book,
thought they were cool, too. Like, it's not my favorite, but it's something. It's like Harry Potter, where I remember.
Yeah.
I actually do like this a lot more than I thought I did.
Like, not so much the killing people and sucking the blood.
Yeah.
Like, my...
I love that part.
that would be,
I love sucking, you
love
know?
killing
That's
and
just-
sucking, okay. No, but, like, I had this...
That'll be nice to listen to.
Who could do it better? No, but
Oh,
like,
shit.
so the funny part was like I had this I would read this series of books called The Little Vampire, and that was like my favorite series.
Isn't there a movie with a little blonde kid and the glasses?
Yeah, so they made a movie off of that. It's written by I think a Swedish lady named Angela Sommer Bodenberg, and I just found a copy, and it's a different title. It's actually My Friend the Vampire, so it's about a boy who meets a vampire boy and becomes friends, and it's all about like the different cultures getting. I don't know. It was just super cool.
It's
And
about racism.
It's about racism
against vampires, but yeah,
yeah, you know. So, but I mean, they made a TV show out of it, a Canadian TV show. It was called The Little Vampire, and Alfred from the original Batman, the 1989 Batman, was one of the elder vampires in that.
that makes sense. He
Michael
has
Gough,
a very vampire vibe to that guy.
And like the actor, I remember his name was Joel Dax, who played like Rudiger, who was the little vampire, and he's now some MIT or some biotechnical scientist. I don't know, some smart shit that gets paid a lot of money, and you know, is not like a wannabe filmmaker like us, but you know.
Wait, who is it? The guy that
played
show?
the little vampire.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
So he's now grown up to be a very prominent like medical or scientific researcher, God knows what. But yeah, I think I looked him up like 5 years ago to be like, oh, what does this guy do? You know,
Yeah,
what is he doing?
it's always,
nowadays?
because you're like a kid actor. Are they still doing
Right.
it? And a lot of times they're not, but sometimes they are.
But they're Canadian actors, so they're not doing anything. So.
Right. Yeah. But
Sorry.
that was but that was your favorite show? Was that?
That was my favorite show. I used to come home and watch like it was that, like Little Vampire and the book. Like I remember, like I would bring the book home from the library. There was this thing called libraries that we had back in the day where you'd actually go and like check out books.
Yeah, and there wouldn't be like lots of homeless people living there.
Right. Exactly.
You could actually get a book, and it'd be safe to walk around.
Right.
I don't know. I haven't even been to a library in a long. I think the last library I went to was on a college campus when I went to Sac State.
Right. It's a repository of information, you know, and these things called books.
Yeah.
But like, so I would check those out, and I remember just sitting in my room and just like lying on my couch and just being like, like reading this thing, and I'd read it. I'd spend the weekend reading the series. That was like my favorite thing, and I like.
That's so funny.
And then like I Am Legend, like the comic, I have a graphic novel of the Richard Matheson one.
Keep on that mic, son.
No,
Okay.
like, I have a graphic novel of the I Am Legend, and then obviously the actual story. So I used to love those.
Was Richard Matheson's book was it vampires like sucking blood and with teeth, or because in the movie they make them like these weird zombies? Almost?
These hemocytes is what they call them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, no, I mean they were vampires, like they, but the whole like they weren't really out because you wouldn't really see them sucking blood, but they were vampires. They only came out at night.
Yeah.
They weren't werewolves, but they were like just kind of worse versions of themselves.
Yeah.
Funny, they made a what's his face? The guy Vincent Price. They made a movie with Vincent Price.
Yes,
on that.
of course.
Yes.
Oh, was it called the Omega Man or something?
No, that was a B grade version of it. Omega
Oh,
Man.
okay.
I think that was Charlton Heston.
Okay.
But Vincent Price was it was called I Am Legend or something like that. But
Just
yeah.
like the Will Smith one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was based off the Richard Matheson one.
Okay.
But it was interesting. So anyways, we sidetracked a little. We love
that's all right.
vampires.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say too. I guess I could bring this up later, but I also recently watched Midnight Mass. So I have a lot of vampire knowledge recently.
Yes.
Dude, I watched it. I watched it Halloween night. It was like, I forget. I was just like, you know what? It's Halloween. I'm going to celebrate by watching this show I haven't seen yet, this spooky show. And then I started watching it, and I stayed up till like 2 or 3 in the morning. I watched like 5 episodes in a row, and I was like, I don't want to go to sleep. I need to finish. But like, it's like 8 or 9 episodes. So then the next day I finished it, and it was like so good. But it's like, I thought that vampire was cool. Okay, before we get any further, this is going to be spoilers. We're not going to not going to do a section where there's no spoilers. We're just going to talk about the movie. I think it's easier that way.
Yeah.
And just go see it. See it in the theater, because I'll just start. My overall thing is I liked it a lot. I think it's either my first or second favorite Robert Eggers movie, because I liked the world building and the feel and the look of it. And it felt like more of a straightforward, like I'm not like basic where I need a straightforward story or else or something, but The Lighthouse is great, but it kind of had this frustrating ending where it was like more about the goofy journey of that movie than where it goes. And I hate getting to the end of a movie and just being like, oh, okay, I guess it's over, unless it just really entertained me the whole time. And then the Northman, I think you agree, is like kind of boring.
Yes.
It's like very, very slow, and it
Bunch
doesn't.
of dudes just grunting around a fire most of the time, and it's just like.
And there's like the whole second half where he goes to that other village.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just thought that was very flat and boring. Like there's nobody around. They're like a little village in a field, and it just wasn't interesting looking to me. I kind of want to watch it again, and then The Witch I feel like is really good. Like I watched it during the day with an old girlfriend, and I was just like so scared and like. Just it's so tense, and I just felt the atmosphere and the feel of the movie, and like everybody talks all weird and 16th century and creepy, so it just like worked on me so well. But it's also pretty slow and boring.
Yeah. So I'm the opposite. I like the only part of The Witch that really terrified me, or not even terrified me, was really the ones that caught me off guard. It was like she's a boo, and then the baby gets snatched, and that's like the first quarter of them.
Well, you got a kid now, so
yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, I didn't have a kid then when I saw that one.
Okay, yeah.
And then even like, Black Phillip was unsettling at certain times, but then
the voice was so creepy. It was like such a
I couldn't hear what
delicious
the hell,
voice, like the way he spoke.
Like I had to watch the whole fucking thing in subtitles. Sorry, the whole freaking thing in subtitles.
Oh,
because it was just like you couldn't.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about it. I didn't want to become a critique about Witch, but
that's okay. It's all related.
Yeah,
this is a free flow format.
But I mean, I just honestly like. So I enjoyed the cinematography of The Witch.
Yeah.
Even Northman and Lighthouse. I mean, they're like just
great.
They all
great
look
films phenomenal.
Look, yeah. And so I mean, maybe I'm just not a Robert Eggers fan. I was kind of like, and I remember sitting here with you on this. Like this movie Nosferatu is very fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful to look at. Like I mean.
Every shot's
a painting, like a friggin', and
it reminded me a little bit, like now that I'm thinking, not during, I think in the back of my head, I didn't like fully think of it, but it made me think of Barry Lyndon.
Right.
Because there's a lot of just like, what's the most realistic lighting we can do for this old movie? Because even when they're in houses and stuff, like they're lighting it for sure, but they really are like, what's motivated? There's like
always
a window
lighting, yep.
And there's like very dark drop-offs where it's like there's the window light and it's bright on this side of the face, and on the other side is dark because there's no light over there.
Right.
They're not doing a bunch of fake like Bram Stoker's movie where there's like more.
There's a hair light somewhere that's coming from
like just the
like
air.
The 90s. Yeah.
There's a hair, which I love. I just watched L.A. Confidential last night, and a lot of that stuff is motivated. Like, oh, there's a street lamp, I guess, but. It is very like every shot there's some kind of crazy hair light, even like in their offices and stuff. It's like, I don't know. But yeah, this is very naturalistic and cool.
Yeah, that and I have an issue with dark cinematography. The Batman really annoyed me because of this, even though I love the Batman.
Yeah.
Like the dark cinematography.
My dog is bothered. He's attacking us.
I really liked how... like there was dark cinematography when we first meet Nosferatu. We don't really see his face. His face is in shadow.
That's probably my favorite sequence in the movie.
Right.
It's just that whole interaction of signing the contract. It's like, it's so perfect.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, that was cool because it really kind of... it was still enough to see detail where you wouldn't have to be like, okay, I need to be in a dark room to watch it. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like you could be sitting on, if you're watching it on your TV, you'll still see that detail.
Yeah.
Whereas like nowadays you get dark sim, like, and this is my issue with Black Phillip in The Witch. When he comes out, you don't see anything.
Yeah.
You know, like you
But
kind of.
they're outside during the day. What?
No, no. I'm saying like when he's in the when he emerges as Satan.
Oh, in the forest
at the end, at the very end, when he's like, a delicious or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like
well, he's yeah.
and like I mean, and you just see like. You don't even see like or at least when I viewed it, I've
Oh
never
right,
really
she goes into like the house or something or a
into
cabin,
the shed or into
the shed,
the
and he has her
barn,
sign the little book with her blood.
And it's like
or,
you can't see shit. All you hear is a voice, and it's like
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, why don't you just put up a black screen? Sorry, as a visual person watching
Sure.
a visual movie,
yeah.
show me something. Show me like some I don't know if he was credited as like a handsome looking thing. I don't fucking know. I don't know if he was handsome or not. I mean, hey, if he's handsome, it's good shit. But
Is that what the credit says?
something
IMDb?
like that, or IMDb, or something.
It doesn't say the devil. It says handsome.
Or Black
stranger.
Phillip, like handsome stranger or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
So I read that somewhere. I can't remember where. It could have been IMDb, or I'm just making it up. But
I just want a quick note. If you hear squeaks, my dog got
Yes.
toys for Christmas and he's squeaking them.
Mhm.
He just. It's like he can sleep all day, and then as soon as we're trying to record something
Yes.
with sound, he's like, "Now I'm gonna take out the squeaks." And
yes,
anyways, yeah, I agree with you. I hate when a movie's too dark. I think that last couple, especially that last season of Game of Thrones, they really did that where
Yep.
it just was like, okay, we get it. You're trying to make it real, but you
Right.
don't need to make it that real. Like you can do some unnatural light. Like I've never watched a Quentin Tarantino movie and questioned the lighting and been like, this
Right.
doesn't make sense, even though they're sitting in a cabin and he's shooting a light straight down into a table and reflecting
Right.
it back up into their faces. It looks cool. I'm not, it doesn't make sense, but in my head, there's just sort of like this weird logic that I make where I'm like, yeah, there's can lights in the the cabin in the 1800s, but there wouldn't be.
Right.
But I just it's just not. You can suspend your disbelief because it's a movie and it looks good. And if you watch any of those '90s movies and they're lit so unrealistically, it doesn't matter because if the story's good, it looks cool and it looks like a movie and you're just in it. So I don't know. With our movie, I feel like I don't want to be only going by what's in the room. Like I'm okay with. I mean, I kind of want it to be motivated, but I want it to have a certain look. You know?
Right. And I mean, with Canceled, we're also kind of looking back to the '90s and kind of the early fun comedy styles, and those were lit.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't really make. What was I watching? So just this morning before I came, I was watching the making of A Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Oh, nice.
Love that fucking film.
That's so good.
And they were talking about how Guy Ritchie, they didn't care about how they lit it.
Mm-hmm.
They just wanted to light it that it looked great with each shot,
Yeah.
They just made sure everybody, there were very few people wearing blue or certain colors like yellows or anything like that. They wanted to keep it like a sepia tone. So it'd be browns and blacks and grays.
Yeah.
Is that what they use for costume designs?
Uh-huh.
But then but then they were just like, we're gonna light it that it looks cool. Looks like the whole thing was like, let's make it look like a music video but a narrative movie.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, it was just kind of interesting to see that, because you don't notice that about when you're watching a movie, and especially when it's so stylized like that, you kind of make that becomes a character in the film, or that becomes a way the film gets perceived. So
yeah, and if you think about it, I think our sensibility to like that style, it comes from directors who came from that music video commercial world.
Right.
Because in the '80s, it was like, who were the big directors? It was like Ridley Scott, Tony Scott, his brother. I can't think of another, but those guys all came from these crazy stylized perfume and clothing commercials and car commercials, and they started making films. So Alien and Top Gun and all those things, they look a certain way, and then we grew up watching those, and then a lot of movies after that were influenced for years and years.
Right.
So I think just locked into our heads is that's the style we like, which doesn't mean that it looks bad like a movie like The Witch. It still looks great, but I think there's nothing wrong with wanting to have a little bit of unrealistic lighting just to see the movie better.
Just expose it so the audience can view it. I hate dark cinematography.
It's almost like it reminds me of the same thing as shaky cam,
right?
Where it's you've spent all these millions of dollars to bring these images to the screen, and now you're just making it impossible to see.
Right.
And if you're the art director or the costume person or the makeup artist, you're just like, what the I worked so hard on this, and now you can't see what I did.
Right.
You know, or the fight choreographer, if it's a shaky cam. There was like an epidemic of that in the early, the 2010s with like Battle for Los Angeles, or those movies were so fucking bad, and they made me so angry.
Oh, Battle LA, that was, dude, I got dizzy watching
worst
that
movies
film.
I've ever seen.
Yes.
I wanted to like find that director and beat him up. Jonathan Liebsman, and that guy fucking sucks, dude. He's the worst. I think he's maybe made some better stuff now, but actually he directed my favorite episode of the Halo TV show, but I'm like, I don't know what he was doing at that point. He thought that was cool. It was the Bourne movies. It was their fault.
And just a disclaimer, we have not made a movie yet, so
yeah,
you know,
we're full of shit.
we respect everything you guys are doing, but you guys suck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
But to get back to Nosferatu, I think, overall, I think I just really liked it, and I think we talked about this as we were walking out. Like, my favorite part of the movie was the first third, like basically the first act.
Yeah,
because it was just all the setup. It was like so atmospheric and creepy, and I think just walking in from the real world and going into that, it's like, oh, we're like going in, and it's so cool, and just that whole thing of Nicholas Holt's character like getting his job, and like he walks into that creepy little lawyer firm or whatever that is, and the way like the lighting, it made me think of like A Christmas Carol. It's just these guys working on Christmas Eve, or I know it wasn't Christmas Eve yet. I don't know what day it was, but just, you know, like that like there's a dim window, and you just imagine these guys sitting there all day in this dusty book, like paper fucking hell, you know. Right. And then I don't know, it just like really brought. I love Victorian stuff. I don't know why.
It's just so textured. That's why.
Yeah.
You feel it. You're like there. You feel the dirt.
I never want to live there. I don't want to go visit, but I love watching a film. Like Penny Dreadful is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. And that's why I like this movie so much too, is because it's like, I love supernatural vampire horror stuff set in the Victorian. This was Germany, I guess, but it felt like England because everyone had a British accent.
Oh, capital.
Oh, capital.
Like, that's how they're saying, oh, capital. Would you have said that in Germany, you know?
The thing
like,
that
it would have been on Krankenwagen or some shit. You know, what I would have felt like.
It would have been interesting if ever, because it's funny because Robert Eggers is so into historical accuracy.
He's such
and
a
like
stickler
the
for it.
dialect and the way, because if you watch The Witch, like it's almost hard to understand what they're saying because they're using like old English. And then in The Lighthouse, they went for very specific accents. Like I watched a video about it. They were like, we're going to do these old accents from Boston or New England or whatever. And then this movie's like, we're just going to do the thing of like,
putting Brits in Germany.
It's a film set in the 1800s, so everyone is British. And
yes.
It's like, it would have been interesting if he had made everybody do like a German accent, but...
I feel like I was just the way they were speaking. I expected them to be like Austin Powers, and be like machine gun javelins.
How did I miss those, baby?
You know, like that's literally like, oh, pip pip. You know, like it was so posh. You know,
right? But it's like posh for the 1800s,
right.
So it might have been accurate for those
for Brits,
England, but this is set in Germany,
right? You know?
Which again, it's there's a little bit of
suspension of disbelief in that, I guess, but
right, like it's not fully important because it is like a vampire movie.
But then, like, see, this is the thing. The accent of Nosferatu, of Count Orlok.
I thought that was really good.
I thought
the first part.
Me, I was just like laughing my ass off. Bro.
It felt
it felt like someone tried. To me, it felt like someone trying to be like, I am Count Dracula. You know,
yeah.
It just felt so like. I feel like if I kind of wish that it had been more almost like, similar to how he had the voice of Black Phillip in The Witch.
Yeah,
like if it was a bit more just like. Not disembodied. What's that word that I'm trying to get? Like
ethereal,
almost ethereal,
like otherworldly. Yeah, like it really was creepy and extra and different.
Right, just so different that somebody like you listen to it and go every time you like.
Well,
fucking listen to it.
But my thing, like, I agree with you. But in the first act, that first sequence when he goes to the castle and he gets taken into the house and the chamber with the fire, like the dining area, whatever, and the way that. I thought the voice was working for me in that sequence. Like when he meets him and you don't see his face for like 5 minutes as he's like slowly talking to him and he's doing all the same. It's really interesting too, like having seen the Bram Stoker's version, the Francis Ford Coppola version earlier this year. It was really cool to compare and contrast these movies because it's the same, because they're all based on Dracula the book, even though this is based on Nosferatu, which was a film which was based on Dracula, but they were trying to not have copyright issues, so they called it Nosferatu and they renamed it and set it in Germany. It's the same story though, and so like, but it's the same thing as like Keanu Reeves goes to this creepy castle,
Right.
and then Gary Oldman is like creepy and it's silly, but it's more silly and bombastic. Like he's wearing this almost Japanese kimono,
Yeah.
but it does the same thing where he's like on this side of him, and then like the camera turns and somehow he's over on the other side of the room. So it does the same stuff, but it's really cool how it was like, this is Robert Eggers' version of that, and I thought that was really good. It felt very. He was so imposing. Like when he would step, the sounds would be like. Doof, like almost like he was a space marine in Warhammer. The way he like had these heavy footsteps and the labored breathing and the voice
Darth Vader of vampires
rolling every R. You know, I can't even do it. Yeah. I thought it was great, but then as the movie went on, it felt like it was either he was doing less or we just got so used to it that it wasn't cool anymore. I don't know which one it is.
I just kept getting taken out of it, like just by that accent. Like,
yeah,
it was just weird. Like,
the mustache was a lot too.
The mustache was a bit much.
Because I think I told after the movie, I was like, he was like a moldy Rasputin.
Right.
That's basically what he was. He was wearing the hat too for a while, and then he takes it off, and he's just like this bald, creepy guy with a mustache,
with a lot of sores on his cheeks and his back. You know, like it just I don't know. It just. To me, like everybody's like, oh man, the design's so fucking crazy. Like it's gonna be so.
It's not my favorite.
And I was like, you know, like because
it was cool, but it did, to me. That's actually I wanted like the definitive Dracula movie, and I guess this is the definitive Nosferatu movie.
Right.
So it's like the creepy bald count who's not quite Dracula. Like he's not Vlad the Impaler.
Right.
He doesn't have brides. Like he's just an old moldy man that has the coffin and that he casts a spell on the woman, but but it's like a plague of rats and it's other things that aren't quite, like Dracula.
No, it's funny though because to me, like I feel like they took shades of Nosferatu and then mixed it in with Vlad the Impaler. That's why the mustache is there and that kind of deep sunken eyes that you see that Vlad the Impaler. Like
but it's not the cool stuff about Vlad, which is like the backstory and the stabbing people and being a warrior king and like all that stuff, the old magic or whatever. Like that stuff's what makes him really cool, I feel like.
See, they should have based him on Vladislav the Poker.
The Poker, yeah.
Have you seen that movie?
Is that from...
What We Do in the Shadows?
Yeah.
That was a good vampire movie.
Yeah,
that's my favorite one.
That's actually...
Especially when he learns to poke on Facebook. He's like, poke?
Poke?
Yes, I like.
Yeah. I like the TV show, too.
I haven't seen the TV. I got to watch that. Everybody keeps telling me.
Pretty good. I'm slowly working through season 3 or 4 right now. But I think overall, I feel like Bill Skarsgård did a decent job.
Better than he did on The Crow, definitely.
Yeah. I like the makeup. I thought it was a good performance, but there's something, I think just aesthetically for me, if I was making this movie, that's not the Dracula I would have gone for. I thought the Midnight Mass vampire was way creepier because he was so quiet and he was like alien because he didn't speak. He kind of had, it's like he clearly had enough mental. Well, you haven't seen the show, right?
No.
Okay, then I won't get into it too much.
But ruin it for me because
what?
I'll still watch it.
Okay, well, yeah, he never speaks. He's sort of silent, but the way when the character who brings him to the island interacts with him, it's like I don't know if it's like a psychic thing, but he clearly is like knows what he wants him to do, but there's never any talking, and it kind of makes it scarier because you're like, how does he know what to do? I don't know. You got to watch it. Yeah, but I don't know how I don't really do movie reviews anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I think. I just wanted like to freeform talk about it.
Well, I mean, so for me, like the pacing, I felt like you could have taken half an hour out of that film and you wouldn't have changed much.
Right. The last 20 to 30 minutes, there's like a sequence. There's the whole sub-story of the friend, like Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, him and his family. I sort of get what they're going for. I feel like it's sort of like, I mean, I was thinking this driving home, like, I don't even know if this is what it is, but it felt a little bit like he was supposed to be a mirror to Nicholas Holt's character of like, if you can't accept reality and you can't let go of what you love or something, then that's like you're a failure. So it's like a contrast to Nicholas Holt's character, but he was also like, he didn't want to let go. And then he got tricked in the end to let go anyways. So it's like I don't really know what that the character doesn't really serve any purpose except for to be like
a soundboard. Like
well, he also felt like he was gumming up the works. Like we have this story going, like the Count is here and he's gonna kill everybody and he wants the girl.
It's all science. There's nothing of that mishmash.
Yeah,
and that's what took me out of it too. Is like everybody's all like he plays this scientific, like, hey my God, it's not scientific. She's just sick in the head, and then he's like, I'm gonna pray for you. And it's like, wait, you just said it's, like you're praying.
Yeah.
And that's totally...
That's just what you say back then.
No, but it's like, they got like that whole, the Christian thing, I'm not that I'm bashing on Christianity, but like, if you're going to say this is science, but I'm still going to pray to God, I don't know, for me, because they had that whole backdrop of like Christianity as well. So it's like, okay, well, then if that's the thing, you're going to have to obviously believe in some sort of like... crap.
Right. Yeah, you're right. If you're Christian, then you could believe like, oh, there is a possession going on here, or like at the very least he could believe or kind of understand. Oh, the mailman's coming. This is going to be bad. He's not just going to freak out. Oh well, let me close the door really quick. Just keep talking.
So I mean, basically, as he's checking the mail, that was kind of one of the things that I felt too. Was like there was almost a disconnect. There was no sort of like, oh, we're relying heavily on science, right? It was more so like, we're a Christian nation that, accepts medical
but he won't accept
science.
like maybe even the possibility that this woman could be
possessed.
Yeah, or cursed or whatever.
Right.
But I mean, to be fair, he didn't see all the stuff happening necessarily.
No, but he saw her freaking out like
oh yeah, but but that, if you are a man of science, you could think it's a neurological disorder, or her menses are off. All these dumb things that men thought back then. The doctors, because there's a really great scene with the dad from The Witch is in this movie. A really deep voice guy.
Yeah.
And he's like playing a doctor, and there's a scene where he's talking about what to do with her before they find Willem Dafoe's character, who plays the Van Helsing of the movie. Mm-hmm. And he's just saying like, yes, well, I've bled her and I've tied her down and I've given her more ether and that should be good. And it's just like such a backwards, medical advice or doctoring, and it's kind of hilarious because it's so stupid.
It's funny because like I'm totally not religious or spiritual at all, and I remember like there was this incident back when I was like 17, and we had a friend. It was like all of us in a room, and she had an episode, and basically
epilepsy or what?
I don't know what it was. Like it looked like a fucking possession.
Oh my God!
Right? And then I'm like, in my head, I'm like, something's wrong, right? Like, she's sick. We need to get her to a hospital.
Yeah.
And then like one of her friends, another girl, was like holding her down and stuff like that. And then she was like, oh no, like she gets this. It's like she's possessed. I'm like, she's not fucking possessed. Right, and then all of a sudden, and this is weird, right? All of a sudden, like she looks at me, and turns, and in the most fucking manly voice,
her head turns all the way around.
It did fucking 360.
It does the 360.
But she just looks over, like she goes, "Do you really want to like? Do you really?" She goes, "Are you testing me?" Like or something like that. And then it was like I just like shat my pants. And I'm like, all right, do what you gotta do.
And now you're a Christian.
No, no. I'm still, I'm still of the belief that there was some scientific, reason for it. But I mean, in that moment when I'm seeing it with my own eyes, I'm like, oh fuck! If there's something possessing her, then shit, you guys have at it.
I'm running down the street.
I'm running down
screaming.
the street. I will go to church if I have to. I'll go to the Hindu temples if I have to. I'll do whatever I have to just to freaking be like, yeah, bless me.
Yeah. Where was this at? In Australia?
It was Australia. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I lived in Australia. It was sorry.
Is she okay? Did she ever have another episode?
I've never talked to her since.
Oh wow.
So she was a friend of a friend, and that's why I was with the friend, and
yeah,
and then it was like, hey, are you testing me? I was like, oh,
jeez. Were her eyes rolled back in her head?
I mean, I see that nowadays at churches, but
yeah.
So I mean, that doesn't freak me out anymore.
Yeah,
but anyways, back to Nosferatu.
But yeah, I think the movie I felt like it was really well done. It just needed you can make it 2 hours or whatever it was, but I just felt like that storyline dragged down the main storyline of the Count coming and going after, what was the girl's name? What was Lily?
Oh fuck,
Lily Rose Depp.
It wasn't Amber Heard.
No, Lily Rose Depp.
Yeah, no.
But what's her character's name?
Her name wasn't Amber Heard in the movie, so
no,
she kept shitting the bed, but
yeah, every time she got possessed.
Yeah. Why
Ellen Hutter.
Ellen, okay, yeah.
Ellen and Thomas.
Ellen and Thomas. I really like Nicholas Holt's character. I thought he was great. I thought doing.
He was much better than Keanu Reeves. It was
Right.
like fun to watch. I'm like, this is what I wanted Keanu Reeves to be like in these scenes. Is this character like
Right.
not? Hello, I'm Keanu Reeves.
Pip Pip.
Have you seen that the performance? Do you remember that? Because it's really bad.
Yeah, he was like about as wooden as his coffee table. Right
He's
here.
the most out of place thing. Like that movie would be so much better if it wasn't him.
Right.
I don't know, because Gary Oldman it's like masterful.
You got
it's like
Oscar winning. Like Keanu
Yeah.
can play Keanu. But I guess he was a draw at the time. That's why.
Well, he's a much better actor now. I watched all the Secret Level whatever those are, shorts. Do you know what that is?
I haven't seen those. No.
So the guy who made Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix, he directed the first Deadpool. Tim
Miller.
Miller, yeah.
Yeah.
He made this, and it's basically like they just took different video game franchises and made like anywhere from 5 to 20-minute shorts. And there's one about Armored Core, which is like a robot futuristic thing. Keanu Reeves plays the character, and it's like CGI, but like really amazing, lifelike CGI. And he's acting super well in it. It's like he's gotten much better.
Right.
But in that movie, he's just so corny and just out of place. It just doesn't. It's like it's like he might as well have been claymation. Like it just doesn't fit at all in this film. It's like I don't know.
No, I mean that's the thing. Like but even in Speed, like you got a gun pointed to your head. What do you do? I'm like, dude, you're not intimidating at all. But like
Yeah. He's much better now.
Yeah, he's
But-
way better now.
but I
Love
thought-
John Wick, Keanu. Yeah,
I thought
keep
Lily
doing
Rose
what you're
Depp as Ellen, she was phenomenal. Like the movie opens with her in this really cool unbroken shot where she gets up, walks around to the curtain, and then gets floating. She starts floating. So I just imagining the logistics of filming that. Like she had to
Right.
probably have the strings on her.
Yeah.
And then
or
they
step
had to,
on some sort of platform.
yeah.
Yeah, like
but her
is it-
toes were pointed down,
Yeah,
so I think she was
couldn't
floating.
see. I can't remember the shot. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I know what you're referring to. I just didn't remember like if there was a full body versus.
Yeah, and I think like as much as the movie has this sort of narrative flow issue that kind of drags it down in the end of the second act through the first of the third act, like first part of that, it just it just feels like okay, like I know where this is going, like let's wrap it up. Like I did feel that, but
See, I think
I think the visuals of it, like
Right.
it's so well constructed, especially even later, like this stuff, like I don't know, I just feel like they still do a good job of they go into the tomb and they find the creepy assistant guy in there and they stab him, and it's like I feel like all this stuff is done well. It's just kind of.
Right.
I don't know. It loses some gravity though. Like the first third just really feels mythic and cool and like what the fuck is going on. And then as the movie goes on, it kind of does sort of go very generic.
See, the thing is, like they blew their load early on.
Yeah. All the fun creepiness.
All the fun
was,
creepiness. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, there's this one shot. Like everybody talks about this shot. Like you see the hand going over the city, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't even the coolest shot for me. The
It was
coolest
cool.
shot- it was cool,
But you saw in the trailer, so
you
you're
saw
like,
the trailer,
okay,
you're like,
I knew
all
this
right,
is coming.
When is this
Yeah.
coming? And you know what?
Yeah.
To me, it honestly, like, it was kind of like, we want to show a cool shot in the trailer, which is why we have it. There was really no reason why a giant fucking hand is shadowing the city, you know?
Well, it's magic.
And
or
it's magic,
evil,
but it's just like
evil guy
It's just
stuff.
like it was a cool shot for the sake of being a cool shot.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like he wasn't flying through the atmosphere and so high up that his hand as he's flying is blocking out the sun or something. Like
Well, yeah, but
I
it's
mean,
it's not like
right.
a cool shot in a vacuum where
Yeah.
it's like it's just cool for no reason. Like it fits in with him haunting the city and bringing
but
a
it
plague
was
of rats.
It,
like
it
it's
just, I don't know. To me, it's just like okay, cool. It looked great. It didn't do well for me, but then the shot of Nicholas Hoult standing in the tunnel of trees and he's just backlit.
Well, yeah.
with the snow coming through, like that's like you don't see that in the trailer, but it's that's like my. favorite
it was in
shot.
one trailer I
Yeah.
saw on
Oh, is it? I didn't
Instagram.
see
Yeah,
that.
I saw like an Instagram
Yeah.
ad and they showed it,
It
but I
was
mean
like-
it didn't ruin it for me.
But then you get the horse carriage that comes up and the horse disappears.
Yeah.
And then somehow the horses are back again.
Yeah.
Like I
No one's in the carriage
no
either.
one's in the carriage
Yeah.
either. It's things like that. Like I get, it's more like okay, the experience of it is almost ethereal. It's ghostly. It's like hallucinatory.
Yeah.
But it just like I don't know. For me, it didn't land, and I was just kind of
Wait,
to
were
be
you
a-
saying it? Are you saying the hand shot or the carrot
No,
shot?
the carriage shot, like stuff like that.
That didn't land?
That didn't land for me. It just
Dude,
like
yeah,
I mean, you can disagree. I just
Yeah.
thought like I was like, all
no,
right,
that
you know,
was fucking cool.
Like,
Like it was just such a good. It's like he's in this. He's basically in like where Maurice is in Beauty and the Beast. Like this haunted woods, but it's
Yeah.
the coolest looking haunted woods ever. The way the light, it's like such contrast of like here's the road and it's lit perfectly, and he's back. Yeah, but then like the way that the camera like pans over. And then shows the carriage, and the carriage is like coming at him. It's like four
And it's
horses.
you know, like,
Yeah, it's parked sideways, and then the way it like looks straight through, it feels like he's going into a portal.
Yeah.
And I heard the cinematographer on this podcast last night saying how that's meant to be like we're entering this supernatural
Right.
world now, and so it is like a portal. But I just thought it looks so cool how you look through it, and it's like it goes on to nothing. And then he like still gets into it, and then it goes off, and it's like I don't know. Just that whole sequence was so like gripping and like I wasn't scared, but
Right.
I was like, what's gonna happen? Even though I know what happens, he goes to the castle, meets the count, signs the
Right.
thing, the deed to the new house in the city. But like, I don't know. It like worked for me, and then just
I mean,
yeah.
So when he was signing the deed, I already knew because he's like, oh, it's in my native tongue. Or
Oh,
my
yeah, yeah. He
ancestral- I was like, I knew he was fucking him over. Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
knew
he was definitely not
but
signing what he thought he was signing.
Exactly, but it was just like
Yeah.
so. I mean, I wish there had been some more subversive ways of doing that. Like I don't know, it just like and maybe it's just kind of like being a filmmaker and knowing and hoping for those beats. You kind of it's harder to watch a movie and not be like, well, how would I have done it a little differently?
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying I would have done it any better, but I'm just saying, like, for example, I think the whole Romanian village or Transylvanian village or whatever.
That part was cool too. I love
was
that part.
cool, but I just like it didn't really add to the story.
I think it's just sort of like everything around this castle is creepy, and this is how these people are in the
Like-
shadow of the castle. Like they know it's fucked up, and they're not like diseased or something, but they're like they have to do these weird rituals, or I don't know, to kill
but see-
vampires.
see, where I would have taken that, like where I would have thought about that was like when he escapes, they're
Yeah.
the ones who find him again. Like this random like convent of nurses or nuns find
Nurses.
him. Nurses, yeah, and then nurse him back
Vin's
to health.
confusing that
Yes.
that scene with his fantasy.
Yes, exactly.
Getting discovered by nurses
By
on a
convent of
riverbank.
nurses, on a riverbank.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying like the nuns kind of felt like they came out of nowhere. I feel like if they just kept the same gypsy traveling thing that found him,
Yeah.
and they nursed him back, and maybe they kind of helped him get back.
Sure. I think they wanted it to be a church so that he could
Yeah.
heal from the evil a little
Right,
bit. You
but
know?
then, but see, that's the thing. Like this village,
Yeah.
this group of gypsies were doing something to, try to kill.
And it wasn't churchy. It was
It wasn't
like
churchy. It
old
was-
world
right.
mythical. Like
exactly.
they had a virgin on a horse,
right.
and then they had her like she was naked, and they're like leading her to the. But then they don't even use her as a virgin. They just
Right.
have her there, and then they open the coffin and they stab. And this is the question I have now is like, what? So like he doesn't.
What purpose did that serve?
No, but well, yeah, but they don't make any vampires in the film. Like
No.
people get like controlled.
Yeah.
Like the creepy old man that hires Nicholas Holt's character. He's like, yeah, basically
basically
Renfield.
Renfield. Yeah.
His character. I don't know who cares what his character's name is, but he was
Jeff.
like Jeff. Yeah,
Jeff.
stark raving mad Jeff.
Jeff.
He's like he doesn't get bitten. But then people who do get bitten, no one turns into a vampire. But then what is that thing in the coffin?
Right.
And why is that a vampire? Because they open the coffin,
Right,
and
and
they
then-
stab it, and
Yeah.
it vomits blood, and they kill it, and it's cool. But it's like, so are vampires just randomly being made? I think I a little. It makes it mysterious, but I wish that the movie had more of like a little bit more mythology.
Right.
Like this is where the vampires come from, or he's making them, or like this ground is cursed because of a war or some atrocity, and then sometimes you bury people and you have to check because they might be a vampire.
Right.
You
Like
know,
the ground is making them vampires or whatever.
because like
some shit.
well, and like because maybe it's also just a nod to the where vampires come from
Right.
mythologically for us is like I think in the medieval times they would go out and sometimes like stab a dead body to make sure it wasn't a vampire.
Right.
Because if you stabbed it, I think the air would come out and it would go or it would like animate because it had something in it, like bloating or gas or something.
Sort of gaseous, yeah.
And so that like made people think that vampires were real because you stab it and it makes noise and it moves.
Well, back then they didn't embalm or remove blood from the body, so
Yeah.
like when they'd open up a grave and then they'd see like it bleeding from the mouth, and the gums would recede.
Like, he just bit someone and fed.
So basically that whole thing was like, and their nails would get longer because the skin would retract.
Sure.
And so people would think that they're vampires, so they'd stab it, and then when all the fluids come rushing out, and all the
they're like justified, like, good thing we stabbed it. It was a vampire.
So, but I mean, it would have been cool to. Yeah, I think like
it did. Yeah, you're right. It felt disconnected. Like it was cool and creepy, but it doesn't go. There's no consistency to the legend either. Because also, I think it works on the level of just if you're watching this the first time, it's all creepy. I don't know what's happening.
Right.
It's scary. It's fun. It puts you in the movie. But if you think about it, you're like, okay, so what's her fate? Like Ellen, Lily Rose Depp is apparently she like called out to this thing and it became obsessed with her. So like she's not a vampire, but she wants it. So it's not him, it's her wanting it. So it's like, okay, that's a fun twist, I guess. But nothing really gets done with that.
Right.
Except maybe just the idea that like, oh, if you're horny, sometimes you're horny, and that's okay. But also it might bring a plague to your city.
Yes.
You know, like, I don't know what the point of that was.
Yeah, right.
But then also, like, so then the curse of Nosferatu is some people get bit and they're afflicted, I guess, like Nicholas Hoult, right? He gets fed on and humped, which was really gross and kind of hilarious. But then, like, he brings a plague of rats, so people get infected with plague, and they're dying, but, like, who knows how that works? So it's like, is it fleas? Is it a virus? I mean, I guess it doesn't matter, but the rules don't really ever come into play. Mm-hmm. And then he's, like, bites people, and they seem to be afflicted, but the ones on the boat are, like, dying, whereas Nicholas Hoult got fed on, and he was able to escape and jump into a river and survive. So it's like, they don't even make the case of, like, well, his spirit is stronger than the guy on the boat. They don't do any work to, like... And I don't like that. I like movies where there's rules, and you know, it don't have to be explicit, but just show it to me enough so that I know, and then that create tension later. Like, this person got bit. Now I know what's going to happen because I saw it happen to that guy. You know, and it's like it kind of just changes as whatever they feel like throughout the movie. Right. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think that's
that was my long-winded.
Like, it's a great. That's a perfect explanation of it because the problem is I think the film suffers from a lack of like narrative cohesion. Yeah. For the sake of showing us cool shit.
Right. Which is kind of disappointing because Robert Eggers has this air of what a fantastic storyteller. Right. And I think he kind of hides it under just these amazing visuals and sort of this like dedication to historical accuracy. Well, and it doesn't mean that he's a great storyteller necessarily.
And he's got a weird obsession with like animals eating women's breasts because he had the crow eating in The Witch, he had the crow eating the mom's breast while she's trying to breastfeed a child, like, where she's hallucinating. About that. And then on this one, he's got like rats eating another woman's breast. Right. And it's just like.
And the Nosferatu, he bites. He doesn't bite your neck. He bites your chest near your boob.
So I don't know.
But he misses the nipple entirely. So it's like it's almost like this weird thing going on where it's like he's this giant man baby and he wants to suck milk, but he still can't. This is a weird year for breastfeeding movies.
Right, exactly.
In horror movies, like, did you see Alien Romulus?
Yes.
That was gross. I don't even know. Right. I don't know. It's weird that executives will like have all these horrible notes, but they'll let that into a movie. It's like that's a little gross and awful. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I like I said, I think here's like, and I also found this, and I think I'll just probably this kind of encapsulates my visually cinematography and production design, set design. 100 out of 10. It was fucking beautiful.
So cool, like
so cool.
That first scene when he's running late to his first day at work. Just like seeing all the city and just imagining like, this is like, I feel like I'm there. Right. This feels like any other awesome movie set in this time period or show like Penny Dreadful or From Hell or any of these things that are, you know, From Hell is like not the best movie, but you know, like just, I love that. Yeah. They nailed that.
Like the atmosphere was thick. It was, like you could see just through the particles, the film grain, everything was like on point. Like I have no gripes about that.
The scene when he goes to like the inn with the gypsies.
Yeah.
and the way that like the fire and the smoke and that
Very,
like I
very
feel
limited,
like
yeah.
I could smell it.
Right.
Like it's like being in it was like being in a dirty sauna. You're just
Right.
like cinders and oak and sparks and smoky fire. You know, like that was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. It that like kind of enchants you like a Nosferatu into ignoring
Right,
the
flaws.
kind of not rotten core of the story, but just that the story's kind of it's sort of like lackadaisically sticking to
Right.
the book. You know what I mean? Like it's like this happens in the book, so we're doing it, but we're not going to try to have a thematic. There's probably some, there's probably themes, and if we really thought about it, we could explore and like connect all the characters together. But I don't think he did a good enough job of that stuff. Yeah,
In terms of horror and jump scares,
scariness. Yeah.
I would say 2 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I was never
not-
scared.
It was never scary.
It was
And
just a fun,
unlike
creepy ride,
right,
but I wasn't scared.
right.
Yeah.
Unlike the witch, where even the in the background, the little women's voices that they'll do in the music, and then like they just that hold of tension. Like I don't ever think there was a feeling of foreboding.
Well, you know what that it is like what you said. You reveal the Nosferatu too early, so he just becomes a character.
Right.
The witches are like this.
You never see him.
When you do, it's super fast. Like when they
Right.
steal the baby and they
Yeah.
sacrifice it, it's like these little shadowy, like
Right.
like a little whoosh, and you see their face for a second, but they're like nameless and faceless. They're
Right.
like these creepy. It's this sense of dread in the woods, and that's what's so effective is that tension is held throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, like once you kind of meet Nosferatu
Yeah.
and you see him dry humping
Right.
Nicholas Hoult and,
And
bleeding.
then you see him stand up in all his glory out of the coffin with his junk hanging out and everything.
Yeah, his little
Like,
weenus. Yeah.
so it's like,
Yeah.
like literally, you're like, okay, well,
That's the
to
end
me,
of the film.
I
I've seen the scary part. Like, there's no
Right.
ratcheting up after
Yeah.
that. That's it. Like, that's
Right.
the scariest it can get. Because now it's like we've done she
Right.
floats to the window. We've done all that. Like, that's in the first 5
Yeah.
seconds.
Like
Yeah.
I call it the Kylo Ren issue, and
Right.
my issue with Kylo Ren was that he revealed his face too soon in Star Wars. What is it?
The Force Awakens.
Force Awakens,
Yeah.
because like, I felt like when she said reveal your face to me, as a Sith or even as a Dark Order person, he should have been like, this is my face. Fuck you, Kylo. But here, how you talk about like the tension in the scene, the fireplace area, the signing of the contract.
Yeah.
We never see his face fully. We see enough of it just to be like, okay, this guy looks jacked up. Like he's
Right.
not-
He's very
and then-
creepy. He's got his hat
Right.
on. He's either blurred out or in
Yeah.
the shadow
Right.
with the flame, like smoky fire.
Had they stayed with that
Yeah.
till maybe the third act, where you kind of see his reveal.
You know what? You're right. Because even like when Nicholas Holt's being like fed on, they could
Yeah.
have made him this imposing figure,
Right.
And you could see like maybe you see like his shoulder and it's all rotted, or
Yeah.
just things that could have made it like, oh my god, like what is he gonna look like? And then when you
Right.
finally see it, like only for a second, so it's like your brain makes it scarier than
Right.
it is. Because if your mind is left to create it. That's what makes it really scary.
Right.
It's like when you see but there's also part of me that's like, I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
And I was happy to see it. And we did see the whole Dracula. Like
Yeah.
the whole guy, you see
saw
him several
everything.
times. Yeah, his whole, you see his junk. I don't know if we say he had balls or not. I have to rewatch the movie.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna rewatch it for his balls, I think
Yeah.
Robert didn't do a job. That he
No, I think I would rewatch it for the first act, like
Yeah.
the atmosphere of it. Because I also had this like fun, idea in my head of just like you don't play video games, but there's a video game called Bloodborne that's like it's a Souls-like. So it's one of those games where it's really difficult to play. The bosses and everything, you have to time your hits and
Right.
like dodges and stuff.
Right.
And if you die, you lose all your souls, and you have to go back and find them so you can level up, and it's a whole thing. And the game is set in a Victorian city like this German city is.
Yeah.
And so, but in the game, you're like out and about. You're like a hunter trying to kill all the monsters. And there's a plague, and everyone's boarded up inside. No one wants to come out. The people that are out are monsters, or they're all deformed and crazy and scary.
Right.
And so, in my mind, I was like, it'd be really cool if this was the origin story for that game.
Yeah.
Like this is how it starts.
Right.
And then, because I was like, that whole first act, I was thinking, like, how cool would it be if Robert Eggers directed a Bloodborne movie? Because it had the look, like Nicholas Holt's costume from behind, if you look up what the hunters look like, and then Willem Dafoe's jacket, too, like that cloak or whatever, the little ridges and stuff.
Yeah.
The frills, I guess. I don't know. The flaps. That all is like the aesthetic of that game.
Right.
Just a little bit more pronounced and more cool. And I just was like, man, I wish he could do that. But then now after the rest of the movie, I'm like, I'd want someone else to write the movie, but if he could direct the visuals of it, that would be cool. Like, he's almost like a fancy Zack Snyder.
Yeah, exactly. I thank you.
Dude, I think we figured it out.
Thank you.
No, Robert Eggers is a fancy Zack Snyder.
Great visuals, but a little bit
kind of basic storytelling.
Basic, yeah, not even basic. It's just like maybe, maybe we just don't know how to tell stories, and everybody else loves it. You know, what I mean, like,
I'm learning. I'm trying to learn. I mean,
right. Also, I just felt like the possession scenes, with the exception to one kind of creepy where they maybe digitally distorted her face, like Lily Rose
when
Depp.
she sticks her tongue out.
Yeah, not even that one. No, this is kind of early.
That one
on
was my creepiest.
Yeah. No, there was that maybe that one to me. Yeah, that one was a little creepy too when she sticks her tongue out. But like there was another one where she like looks downward and her face is all distorted and like, and I was like that was creepy. But the rest of it, like I just found so funny. Like I was like, I mean, I don't know. We kept making comments to each other, and I was like, the fact that we're making these comments, I didn't even remember what they were because they were just like silly comments that we were making, and I was just thinking in my head,
like
I'm like
making fun of it,
or like we were talking about certain things, or we were just talking about the visuals, and I'm like, the fact that we're doing this, I'm already been taken out of the story.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, we also should just watch the movie. Maybe we're being bad viewers, but no one was around us, so we could do it. You know, like I don't know.
Like I don't know what did I keep saying? I kept saying something. I don't know. I can't remember. Like to me, it was just like
because you didn't like. I feel like it was especially Aaron Taylor Johnson's performance.
Like,
he felt like a caricature of a British lord.
Exactly.
It was, and I hate to say that because I like him and I feel like he's been good and stuff, but. He's one of those guys. He kind of reminds me of Taylor Kitsch. He's not a bad actor,
right?
But he's in so many bad movies, and then he's finally in a good movie, and he's kind of goofy. It's like, fuck, he can't win,
Yeah,
and it feels unfair. Like he had to be in Kraven the Hunter, no one went to see it. I'm not gonna see it till it's
free.
Yeah,
till it's free on Tubi.
But I'm thinking about it like Madam Web is on Netflix, I think, and I don't know if I'm gonna watch that either. So I'm just
I've just.
The Sony Spider villain verse, such a bad idea.
Everybody kept saying this would be the definitive Nosferatu vampire film of the 2020s.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of that.
I don't know. I mean, I guess
if you're specifically talking about Nosferatu and not including Dracula and vampires,
right?
Yes. But if you're gonna be like of all vampire storytelling, no, I would say no.
But I'm curious then, like. Where do you go with a vampire story? I think the story's been done to death.
Well, clearly, we need to go back to Blade.
Right, exactly.
The best vampire story is
there.
Blade.
Right, Blade. I mean,
some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill. It's the best line ever. It's so fucking. It's such a ridiculous visual, but you're like, it makes sense. Trying to fight Blade is like ice skating uphill. You will not be able to do it.
It's just funny how he always has an answer for everything, especially like when Daryl Dixon is like, Blade, I'm the familiar. And then he goes, I already was on to you. Boom. It's just like,
oh, yeah.
It's like you fucking knew that all along.
He's like Batman or Dracula, Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
He just always knows the answer. Yeah.
It's like such an easy way out of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nacho.
Nacho sees somebody. He doesn't like it.
Final thoughts?
I don't know if we're going to have a rating system. This podcast, I'm bringing it back. And it's going to be different stuff. Like I said, today's a movie review. Next time, it might just be me and a friend talking for an hour. I don't know. So as far as like ratings, maybe we'll do like letter grade one time. Maybe we'll do out of 10, out of 5. I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. That's going to be my rating.
Oof. See, I have to categorize it. Like I said, cinematography, 100 out of 10, like visually.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, like to me.
I like this more in-depth rating system.
Yeah, but to me, like...
Well, and when you say that too, I think you'd include like costume, art department, effects,
everything in terms of what you're looking at. Like if you muted the whole story, and you just saw it, maybe the design of Nosferatu, I'd probably give like a 6 out of 10.
I think it's good. It's just as a Nosferatu, it's not my favorite.
Yeah, it's not great.
I think it was that would be a cool secondary monster in a movie. But as the main guy,
Like, you know who was kind of cool? Remember Nomak
no
from
Mac.
Blade 2 with the Predator style mouth that would open out?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like to me, that was a creepier
Oh sure.
vampire. You know, like then. To me, that was a creepier vampire.
Oh sure. When I saw that as a kid, I was like, that
oh,
kind of
shit,
made it hard to sleep. Especially that it was like this disease you could
Right.
catch from it, and it made you that. It was like extra creepy.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like it's fine if it's just vampire. You're like,
Right.
my teeth get longer. I have to drink blood. But then if you like become a monster
Right.
with like wing mouth, that's creepier for
Right.
sure.
Like, it had Predator vibes to it, you know? And Predator is the scariest shit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And like, for example, like I always say, like my issue with a lot of vampire films is they always make like Underworld made vampires look douchey. Why were werewolves always badass? And like, to steal a line from like, you know, I feel like the vampires in Underworld were always like, oh my god, dude, like what's like long fancy hair, like they want to be Neos.
Well, I think
You
the
know?
vampires in that were supposed to be kind of cunty. It's like
Yeah.
they're the aristocratic assholes
Right.
who hold the werewolves down in the dirt and keep them like peasants or whatever.
Right.
So there's like a class thing going. Like I don't know.
know.
I don't think Len Weissman's that smart of a guy,
Yeah,
but
no.
he was trying to do
Right.
something there.
Right.
You know,
But
I'm not saying that I am either. My movie's not going to be smart. It's going to be stupid. But
I think like look, Bill Skarsgård. I didn't know what to expect. I just think like
do you like this better than his Pennywise performance?
I know I liked his Pennywise performance.
Do you like that more?
I liked Pennywise more, and I mean
Okay.
you wouldn't know that was Pennywise. Like you wouldn't know that was Bill Skarsgård under this. Right?
It is cool that he can disappear and do like
Yes.
I didn't think his voice could get that deep and
Right.
raspy.
But I'm
I
sure
was
they did
impressed.
something with it. But I'm just like to
Maybe,
me like
yeah.
that. You know, like I was like I don't know. I think I expected too much from like the from the Orlok. You know, like from how he came out. Like I was.
It's hard not to. He's not in the trailers at all.
Yes.
Except for like the shadow and the hand. That's the only thing you see in the
Yeah.
trailers. In the movie, it's like, okay, but you see too much of
Right.
him too soon. I think that's
Yeah.
definitely true.
So yeah, I mean, like just like in Predator, you don't see him till the end when Arnold fights him, and when you do see him, it's like a quick revelation. He's still wearing a mask.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
Like,
and you do see his face, but it's like at the end.
yeah, when he takes it off, that's when it's like okay.
Yeah.
You know?
I think what I wanted, if I could make this my own movie, I would just shift around elements. I would like,
Right.
it's like stats, like, you know, when you had a Marvel card as a kid and it's like intelligence 10,
Right.
strength 8, I would like redo the stats.
Yeah.
So I would take out Aaron Taylor Johnson's character more,
Right.
make him more of like a muscle. Like he like in the Bram Stoker one, the Francis Ford Coppola movie, they have those like 3 guys that are sort of like warriors that fight at the end and they
Right.
kind of have it make it an action scene.
Yeah.
I would have made him more of that kind of guy, and then I would have made like Nicholas Hoult more important, and then I would have had way more Willem Dafoe, who we haven't
Right.
talked about. Willem
Yeah.
Dafoe was so good, and I loved his character. I thought we needed like 1,000% more Willem Dafoe and like 1,000% less of Taylor Aaron Johnson.
Yeah.
Because he's so
Yeah.
much like he's just
That's so
infinitely
true.
watchable. He's so fun, and he was such a cool like he was doing his crazy Willem
Yeah.
Dafoe thing, and I liked him as like this. I wanted more. He's like I thought he was gonna have all this cool knowledge and like lore, and he's like I've never run into Nosferatu, so actually I don't know.
Right. He's not.
Like,
He's
what?
not someone that encountered him once. Like
Yeah.
Van Helsing had a
Yeah, yeah,
history
yeah.
with Dracula.
Right.
You know?
he had like encountered him
He
before,
encountered him
fought
before.
other
Yeah,
vampires.
exactly.
The vampire.
Yeah,
You know.
dude, like so.
And so they have the scene where he looks not into the camera but off to the side, and he's like, "The vampire, the Nosferatu,"
Yeah.
and you're like, "Cool." And then he's never seen it. He like,
I know shit.
it's almost like like
What do you do?
like if somebody in a Predator movie had seen a Predator
Yeah.
movie, they're like, "Well, I saw the movie, it was scary," you know. And then he's like, "Now let's fight it."
Right. You know, it's just like
Yeah.
it was just weird that. Yeah, I know you're right. Like I didn't take that into consideration that like Aaron Taylor Johnson's character Pip.
That's what really slowed the movie down. It was all his whole
Right.
storyline, and like it's a very scary, creepy, fucked up scene. Like the shot of Nosferatu eating the girls and
Right.
killing them. It's like, yeah, that's really scary and fucked up, but it's like, for what reason? Like
Right.
this is just
for him to go die in a car next to his dead wife. You know, like
yeah. And then I guess that was
plague.
supposed to drive Ellen, Lily Rose Depp, to like finally sacrificing herself,
Yeah.
maybe, right? But it's really ineffective because it's like she actually doesn't save anyone. So if anything,
No.
she's just like, fine, I guess I'll let him suck my blood titty and die. Like
blood bag.
It would have been better if she had like come and like saved them and sacrificed herself that way, because then that character's making a choice to be like, I'm gonna do this thing that I don't want to do, and I'm gonna save my friends. Instead, it's like, I get like at that point, what would have been an interesting story is if she chose to leave the city, and then he just rampages the city, and then she has to live with that. That would have been a cooler ending, because it's like, oh fuck, she like is a coward and she left, and they're gonna be on the run forever. That would have been more interesting than just like, all right, I guess.
Okay, I guess we'll do it.
I guess I'll let him like bite rape me or whatever.
But don't tell Thomas.
Right, my battery's about to die on this camera. No. So, final thoughts. Sorry, we got to cut it short, but I also don't want this to be more than an hour, really. Anyways, So what, 3 out of 10? Would you say?
Yeah, I'm honestly, if we take cinematography out, I'm giving this movie a 3 out of 10. I'm sorry. Like I was bored.
I still think 7. I enjoyed it. I went for the ride, but there was definitely stuff wrong with it. Could have used some rewrites.
I watched Werewolves yesterday, a stupid Frank Grillo film with really bad effects.
Yeah.
And I was way more entertained in that.
Okay.
Like, seriously.
So
maybe I have bad film taste, but
that's Vin's rec. Go watch Werewolves.
Go watch Werewolves instead. You'll know that, like, at least you know the story's dumb.
Yeah. So I liked it. Vin didn't, but there's problems, flaws. I guess to wrap up, like, subscribe, follow us, like us. I don't know, whatever. You know how it works. At Tiki. No, at Luke Soin on Instagram. I don't know. Who cares?
At Vin Chandra DP. We fucked up.
The battery's dead. So
dead.
I'll just put a graphic up for the rest of the video.
So Vin Chandra DP on Instagram for me, and Vin Chandra on YouTube.
Yeah, and stick around. I don't know if this will be the first episode back or if I'll do one and then this one comes out. But maybe this will be the first one, and it's like, it's just how it starts again. Doesn't really matter. Life just goes on, So I'll have more podcasts. We're going to try to do this every
week. Maybe a good
week.
title for this one?
What?
Did Nosferatu suck?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that'll get hits.
But it'd be a better title is for the sequel. Nosferatu.
Nosferatu. Oh, okay. I like me gusta.
All right, you guys. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Peace.